And one thing that I want to point out to you guys is that what have we done in the past when we have really large values? Your calculator is not going to like it so much. It might even give you an error if you use 1900 and 1910 and 1920. What can we do instead? Can we let 1900 be year 0? Okay. So let's go into Stat Edit, and we're going to let 1900 be year 0, 10, 20, all the way up to 100. Would you type this table in your Stat Edit, please? It's right, and table 3.9 is right here in your book. So as you're finishing typing the data in, and this is in your book, I'm going to go through all of the things that I might ask you to do with regression. And I'm going to say that if it's the process of things working around your calculator and you're still not getting it, please come see me, because regression isn't going to go away. We're going to do it with log. We're going to do a logistic one today, actually. We did it with power functions, okay? So if you're having a hard time saying, how do I get it to show up again? How do I get this to show up? That's something that you do need to know, and you might not remember. So we might need to practice that a little more. But I'll show everything today. If I wanted to get my points to show up, I go to the Stat Plot menu. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at a scatter plot. I know I didn't ask you to do that in this example, but sometimes do I on your homework? I do. And I'm going to turn one on. And this is pretty important. There is a zoom function that will pick a nice window for your data. What is it?
9.
Good! Zoom 9. Yeah. Cool. Oh, crap. I still have my little exponential function in there from before. Let's take it out. All right. Hey, that looks like it could be exponential. Right? It's got some curve to it. So now we're going to run an exponential regression. So we go to Stat. We go over to Calc. And we haven't probably used it yet. If you go down, do you see EXPReg? Does that make sense? Exponential regression. Okay. Let's write it down, because I asked you to find a regression. So I'm going to write this, P of T, because this is a population model, right? I got 80 point, I'll do 3 decimals, 551. Is that what you got? Times 1.013 to the T power. And let's write down that we said T is years after 1900. The question was, we're going to use this to predict the population in 2000. It's not really predicting, it's calculating. And we're going to compare it with what the table actually says it is. One thing I want to point out to you, there's a pretty key thing in the table. What's in the parentheses after it says U.S. population? In millions. So these are in millions. Okay. So, let's say I wanted to superimpose, have you heard the book asked that before? What if I wanted to superimpose the regression on the point? That's a fancy way of saying put this on the graph. We go to y equals. We go to vars. We go to statistics. We go to EQ. It will take your last regression and put it in. Hey, does that look like a reasonable fit? It does. Let's answer the question then. Let's do what our model gives us for 2000, which is 100 years after 1900, agree? You can either hit trace, and by the way, when you hit trace, you want to make sure that you're not on the plot one, because that's your stat plot. You want to make sure you're on your regression. And you could type in 100, and it will actually go to the point for you. Do you see it says 289.862? That's in millions, though, by the way. Or, do you remember how you could do it in the table function? I've taught you that, too. You set your table for ask, and then you can type it in there. Should look like the same. Alright, so here's what I'm gonna write. P of 100 was, according to our model, 289.86 million. How close is that to what the table predicted? Or not the table, what did the actual population actually, according to the table, say? Okay, now at first you might say, hey, that's pretty good. Well, if it weren't for that stinking word a million, it's pretty good. This is actually, if I rounded, let's say I rounded up to 290, that's like 9 million, shooting it over by 9 million. That's kind of significant, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to write this, goes above the actual population by a lot. Because that's kind of a lot of people, isn't it? Think about that many people. Okay, so now